Hey YouTube, Therapy Sports here, and I am here with another video. This is my wide receiver big board, my top 5 receivers in the 2021 NFL Draft class. Before we get into the video, you should like and subscribe and follow with a friend if you enjoy the content. If you do not agree with my takes, go ahead and drop a comment. And yeah, let's get straight into the board. So, with my first wide receiver on the board, I have Ja'Marr Chase. So LSU receivers tend to be pretty good in the NFL. Just know the guys like Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, and Justin Jefferson, just to name a few. Those have been some of the really good receivers coming out of LSU. I'm a big fan of them. I like all those guys. Jarvis Landry is pretty underrated. Odell Beckham, he's a little bit overrated, but he's still a really nice receiver. I would love to have him on my team. But I also like Justin Jefferson. I drafted him in fantasy last year. Really good. He popped off for me. I'm definitely going to try to pick him again next year. But those guys all came out of LSU, and they all developed pretty quickly, so yeah. Ja'Marr Chase is another LSU wide receiver that, in my opinion, he's perfectly pro-ready. I don't really have any concerns about him. His burst is really nice off the line of scrimmage. I really like it. I like his speed. I like his agility. I like everything about him. I think he's a good receiver. He's physical enough to get to the NFL, which is really nice. I think he can be a plug and play guy that you can just put in the NFL. Honestly, any roster you could put him in, and he will succeed somehow. And with my number 2 wide receiver on the big board, I have Jalen Waddle. Yes, Jalen Waddle. So some of you guys might actually find this a little bit interesting. I have Jalen Waddle ahead of DeVonta Smith. You guys are probably like, what the heck are you doing? DeVonta Smith is so much better. But no. Jalen Waddle he's a fast receiver. He's fast. He's more of a speed receiver than anything else. But, like I said with Ja'Marr Chase, he has that good physical receiver thing that I like to see. Like, he can separate really well, which is something that speed receivers tend to do. But he's more than just a speed receiver. Guys like Henry Ruggs were majority speed receivers. Guys like John Ross, majority speed receivers. They did not pan out in the NFL. This guy, he's a majority speed receiver, which concerns me a little bit. But at the same time, it doesn't because he's rather physical, if that makes sense. He has that ability to break off corners and do good. And his after the catch ability is insane, which is good. He actually gives me Amari Cooper vibes. I really like what I see out of him so far. I think he can be a really successful NFL receiver. I like him more in the slot, though. I think he can be a really much more explosive Cole Beasley, in my opinion. That's what I think he can be in the NFL. That's what I think he will be and what he can be. I think he's one of those receivers that you have to put in the right scheme, though, to be top whatever receiver. If you want him to be top 5, he has to go to the perfect system. Like a system like it might. I don't know. I have no clue what the perfect system would be for him, but a team like the Packers, I would really like for him because he could learn behind Davante Adams. Any team with a top receiver, he should not come in the NFL and be that true number 1 receiver that you need on a struggling team with receiver core. So I think he should go to a team with a good receiving core that he can learn from and compete with and try to do good. That's where I think he'll succeed. I have him as a top 15 pick in this year's draft. With my number 3 receiver, I have DeVonta Smith. Yeah, not really a big surprise. He's a speed demon. I love this man's speed. His potential is amazing. If you're taking him before any other receiver, you're banking on that speed potential, that he can be one of the fastest receivers in the NFL, that he can be one of the fastest receivers. He's one of the fastest receiver, if not the fastest receiver in college football right now. You're banking on all that speed if you're taking him early. everything you're banking on in the first round is his speed. You're not banking on his physicality. That's not something that he really is good at, in my opinion. After watching film on him, I just don't see the physicalness there with him. I see the speed, but I love his. Here's one thing I love about him. I love his speed. I've said that several times now, but I love his route running. He's just really smart with his routes, which is something that all these receivers have done so far. But him in general, he is up there. He's, in my opinion, I like his route running more than I like Jalen Waddle's route running. But his size super concerns me. Like Devontae Smith, his arms are small. His legs are small. If he can get that up, he would be a top 5 pick. He would be the number 1 receiver on my board. Because if he had those, in my opinion, he could be one of the most physical receivers in the NFL. He has all the talent in the world to just do whatever he wants. He has all the talent in the world. He can be a top receiver in the NFL. But his floor is rather low. His floor is the lowest out of the top 3 so far. But it's not the lowest. I don't know. I just know that his floor is about what I would say. It's higher than any other receiver that's not named Ja'Marr Chase or Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle has a relatively high floor, in my opinion. I like his floor. I think it's really good. I think he can be a successful receiver in the NFL. But Devontae Smith's floor, it's really, it's rather low. If we're talking about floor, I'm taking him in the late first round to the early second round. But if I'm betting on a ceiling, I'm taking him with the number 3 pick to the Dolphins, or the number 2 pick to the Jets. That's where I think his high is, but I think his low is about the Chiefs pick. He could go from the 2nd pick all the way down to 31st. That's where I think he'll go. That's as far as I think he'll go, and that's where I think he'll go. I think that says about nothing. That could be anyone in the draft, but he is going to be a mid-first round guy, in my opinion. I think he has the potential, all the potential in the world, to go early, top 10 pick. That's what Henry Ruggs did last year, and John Ross did. I think he can go top 10, but I don't think he will. I think NFL GMs are starting to learn that those speed receivers don't need to go super early, and that they're not always pro ready. I think that Devontae Smith will be about a mid-first round guy. Mid-first round. I think Jalen Waddle will still go before him, but that ankle scares me for Jalen Waddle. Or, no, was it? I don't know if it was the ankle or not. I don't remember the exact injury he had, but it scares me. That sounds not smart. But I don't remember the exact injury. I remember it when it happened. I was watching that game. It was scary at the time. But that still concerns me a little bit after watching the national championship. He didn't really get to run a whole lot, but the fact that he was able to get out there in that national championship was good. But Devontae Smith, I got a mid-first round grade on him. I was getting a little bit off topic. Moving on to my number 4 wide receiver, I have Rondale Moore. This is where it gets interesting. I love the ceiling of Rondale Moore. It's really high. The drops are a serious problem, though. I've watched a pretty good chunk of film on him, because I'm really high on him, as you guys can probably tell, because he's my number 4 receiver in my big board. He has a really high ceiling, but the drops are a problem. I think he can be a Michael Gallup-like receiver. Which, if Michael Gallup right now, I can guarantee you he's going to be in the draft. If I could, I would take him in the mid to late first round. But he has more drop problems than Michael Gallup, in my opinion. I don't think he will come in and be Michael Gallup. I think that he needs to sit back for a year and learn from a guy like Davante Adams. I think that would be a great place for him. A late first round team with a ton of receiving core that is rather old, that needs a wide receiver too, maybe a slot receiver who could not be the primary receiver for a year and learn from a good receiver. I think that's where he'd fit best. But he has amazing speed, in my opinion. When I watched his tape, I could just tell he was like trying to beat everyone. Like, I just saw more of that than any other receiver I watched. But I really liked what I saw out of him. I liked everything except for the drops. I like his physicality, but the problem is he was mostly in the slot, which is not good, in my opinion. It's fine, but you want to be on the outside more. He thrived in the slot, which is, I mean, some receivers will do that, some receivers won't, which is just fine in my opinion. But you're not banking on a slot guy if you're drafting him in the first round. You're banking on an outside receiver who can be really good in the NFL. Hopefully he can do good. You're banking on the drops to go away. Something that if he worked with a guy like Davante Adams in Green Bay, that's something that he could fix. Which is why I have him as my number 4 receiver. I think my grade for him is Green Bay's pick in the draft. Late first round, that exact pick is exactly where I think he will go. My number 5 and last receiver in the draft is Tylan Wallace. Now, this is going to be a little bit controversial, but I don't like Terrace Marshall, and I don't like Kadarius Toney that much, which are my next receivers in the board, but I don't like them that much. I prefer a guy like Tylan Wallace out of Oklahoma State more than I like those guys. He's fast enough to get the job done, which is good enough. He has okay physicality in my opinion. He can get it all done. The thing is, he can get it done. He's not. After the first 3 receivers, I don't think any of those dudes are actually pro ready. Like, if they have a good receiver to learn behind, they will be good. But if they don't, I don't think they will actually succeed. A guy like him, I think he can be a successful receiver in the NFL, but I don't think he can be a top 5 receiver in the NFL. I have an early to mid second round grade on him. I think teams will be a little bit hesitant to draft him because he doesn't really have all the skills in the world. But if he can get behind the right receiver, I think he can do good in the NFL. I think he can be a really nice wide receiver too, to complement one, or someone like Jarvis Landry. That's who I think he can be. That's about my ceiling for him is Jarvis Landry, which is it's a pretty nice ceiling to have, but you don't want to spend a first round pick on that guy. I'm not a huge fan of Jarvis, but I don't think you should get a first for him. I think an early second is about where I would put Tylan Wallace. I don't know what type of team would pick him up. I don't really know all the team needs in the world, but I know that some teams need receiver more than others. I think he needs to go behind a team that needs a good receiver. He's not going to be your number 1 receiver right away. He can learn. He can be good. I like an early second round grade on him. Early to mid second round. And yeah. That, my friends, is my top 5 wide receiver big board. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe, and feel free to comment if you disagree. Or if you don't disagree, tell me that my thing was good. In the comments, do whatever you want. Like, share, subscribe, comment on the video if you want to. And I will see you guys next time.